Today it's absolutely freezing, but I've got an awning rail to fit. It's some of this C-channel and I'm going to fit it directly into the roof rack holes, so it's kind of stealth and can't be seen from the ground. Let's get up on the roof and start measuring. This is the point where I realised some cowboy has sheared the thread for this bolt out of the roof and glued the bolt back in the hole. I had hopes for getting this job done in an hour, but this was the moment this started fading. Either way, I need to get this done today ideally, so it's just another thing to sort later. So on with measuring. If anybody has done this themselves, you'll probably notice the error I'm about to make, assuming that all the bolt holes are evenly spaced. For some reason, Ford chose to space the middle set of holes at 42mm and the others at 46. This'll come back to bite me later. As I measure, I realise the contours of the roof will mean the awning rail will touch in places without something to space it up a little higher, so I decided at this point to go inside and start designing some spacers to raise the rail up just enough to clear. Thinking that all the holes were spaced equally, I started with a 42mm block, reduced the height to 10mm, then I added a 10mm hole to each end, so there was plenty of space for the bolt to pass through. Then I added a couple of cylinders to each end before filling the gap with a final block. Now over to the 3D printer to start making my parts before the sun goes down. At this point, with my freshly printed spacers, I thought it was plain sailing and all I had to do was drill a few holes and bolt everything up. This is where I realised the holes are not all equal, so back to the drawing board and 2 new spacers coming up. Now we can finally get on with actually fitting the rails. This is the position I planned to be in several hours earlier. It is just a case of offering them up into the position you're happy with, marking where the bolts line up and drilling through them. I drilled a 2mm pilot hole and then went through with a 10mm drill bit. This gives me an extra bit of space to get the bolts in. If you need to trim the rails down, this is a good time. The metal is fairly soft and cuts easily with a chop saw. If you don't have one, I guess you can do it with a hacksaw. Repeat the process for the second rail and make sure they line up and fit on the van together. I chose to add some sealant between the spaces and the roof to prevent water getting underneath them. Sometimes it's best just to use your fingers, even if they're freezing cold. You should now be at the stage of putting the bolts in the holes and doing them up finger tight. I found the holes were a little tight to get a socket on, so I had to finish them off with a spanner. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more. Check out my other videos in the van life series, and I will make these spaces available to buy on my website for anybody who wishes to fit awning rails into roof rack holes. See you next time.